Let's talk about how our market performed last week. Now, most analysts say even though we saw it down during the course of the week, they weren't worried. It was as a result of profit taking. I mean, what's your take?
Exactly, it's as a result of profit taking. And then you have to look at some of the banking sector, some of the stocks that actually done their rally when the result came in, the half-year results. So when you look at that, you begin to say, if you look at the banking sector, you realize that some of those stocks have actually ended up in their bottom level. You see, they don't go beyond some prices. You see First Bank hovering between 12.05, 12 naira. You see Skybank also doing the same thing. You see UBA hovering between 4 to 4 naira 50 core, 4 naira 60 core. Then the only ones that you see again today, lose tomorrow is Access Bank and GTB. And this is as a result of the expectation of the investors in terms of their half-year result, because those are the two banks that have not released their result at the moment, and they are the two banks that actually pay interim dividend to investors. So that's why you see Access Bank doing between 750, 760. Then you see GTB doing 770, 750, 780. So until this result comes, those banks will continue because investors are trading based on expectancy on those results that's coming in.
But I mean, I have to ask Muktar, I mean, most investors in Nigeria, we generally go for the banking stocks post-MPC. I mean, there's been a lot of concern over how our banks are going to perform. What's your take on how investor sentiment is towards the banking stocks now that we're not so sure how well they'll do post the MPC meeting?
Well, sometimes you look at various things when you're trying to get a stock. You look at liquidity. You look at how active they are. Banking stocks are always liquid. They are very active. So at the moment, they remain one of the most active stocks because in terms of taking profit, there's always a readily available buyer for the banking stock. But when you talk to some other sectors, these things can queue in there. Sometimes you see them gaining. It's not because they're gaining. They just gain the maximum because people are queuing up to buy and nobody's selling. So in terms of volume, you see that the banking and the insurance sectors seems to be the most liquid and that has more volume. So until something drastic happens, the banking and the insurance sector will keep on moving the market in terms of volume and liquidity.
Now, you do say the insurance sector is moving the market. Before we talk about another sector that is sort of trending, the agro-allied sector, the insurance sector hasn't performed so well. I mean, it seems investors have lost interest for that sector entirely. And of course, that sector has seen a few bumps in the past a few weeks. We saw the regulator actually suspending three of the main insurance companies here. And of course, we haven't seen the stocks performing so well. So what's your take on that sector?
Definitely, the insurance sector has underperformed based on sentiment, mostly during their recapitalization. Realized they almost did their recapitalization after the banking sector, and everybody thought they would do very well, like when the bank recapitalized. But the problem with the insurance sector, it has to do with in terms of releasing of results on time, and some of their results, investors don't really understand them. But when you think of profit taking, it mostly happens in the insurance sector because people can buy at the nominal value of 50 kobo, and sometimes at 52, 53 kobo, investors are selling up. So that's what I'm thinking about, how active in terms of liquidity and volume. If you look at stock like ICO Insurance, they move in the market every time. So those are stocks that investors try to, in terms of trying to sell. But when you talk about other sectors that are really moving the market and people are not looking at, is the agro sector, where you have Okoronkwo oil and you have Presco. Last year, towards the end, their end result, year-end result last year was one of the best in terms of Okoronkwo oil paid as high as 5 naira in terms of dividend payout. Then you look at Presco, paid about 1 naira in terms of dividend payout. And these are the agro sector. And you know, Nigeria is moving towards the agro sector. And some of these agro-allied sector also have loans from banks, which are not even from banks, from CBN, which is almost interest-free because of Nigeria trying to boost agricultural production. So those are the sectors. There seems to be a lot of activities happening in those sectors in terms of profit from those from those companies. So I think that's one area investors have not really looked at, and that's one area that's really moving the market. Because then you look at the stock like Okoronkwo, before they announced of the result, they were selling as low as maybe 12 naira. But when the result came out, that the stock was paying about 4 naira at that time, because it was paying an interim of 1 naira. it buffed up to almost 32 naira.
And of course, we've seen some of the big names like UACN acquiring livestock.
It's
part of, of course, the agro-allied sector. But let's talk about new listings on the stock exchange. I mean, we had Austin Lars release their results actually on Friday. Now, the results look good as far as the analyst said. Turnover up from 123 million to 180 million, but we still saw the stock remaining flat. And I'd like to find out, how are those new listings doing? Of course, including the creation of the new index, the new Islamic index. It doesn't seem like Nigerian investors are warming up to these new listings.
Yeah, because there's not enlightenment and information about this new listing. In terms of Austin law, you begin to look, that's what I was telling you about volume and telling you about liquidity. You could see that nothing is moving, everything is flat. Because over time, new listings have actually come out to be not what they say they are. So investors are still skeptical when it comes to new listing. And when you see introducing some new listing that investors doesn't really have too much information, don't know how these listings work. So it's a lot of work that those company has to do, and then the exchange have to do to enlighten investors on that. There are other areas these listings are actually listings that they can make a lot of profit from. But for now, investors will be skeptical. Sometimes they said it's better to go to the stock that you always know, that will bring you result, that will pay you dividend, not this new listing. After 1 or 2 years, they begin to declare losses after investors are popping their money into there. So, and over time, a stock has to have a pedigree. You look at, before a pure investor wants to buy a stock, he wants to look at the 3 years. What have this stock been able to perform? So for now, I think the new listing will continue to have low patronage, coming with the fact that some of these other listings that have been there are actually selling at a very low price. So you don't leave the known to the unknown. Every investors want to be in the known area and the prices are good. So I think that's what is affecting them at the moment.
Okay, well, let's talk about your stock picks as we go into a new week. Suddenly, Nigerian breweries looks good. It was up almost 2 naira last week. What's your take on that stock? And of course, some of the stocks you think we should look out during the course of this week? I
think we should still look out for 2 of the banking sector that we're expecting their result, GTB and Access Bank. We should not forget that Okoronkwo Oil too, we are waiting their half-year result, which they almost pay interim dividend. The brewery sector, I don't expect Nigerian brewery to go to movement this week, but I expect there will be a little bit of movement there. Then also you look at the conglomerate sector, and you look at Dangote Sugar, like you said, he's on the downside, and his result is being expected, and he did a fairly good result. So you could look at those stocks and see how they will move the market this week.
Thank you so much, Muktar, for joining us, giving us your take on the market.